All right. Okay. So we'll probably wait a few minutes. We're just about ready to get started, but we'll give some time for people to rock up and to see how many people are kicking around. Um, yes. Cool. I think um, everything is working okay. This one is a little bit less technically ambitious in terms of the streaming because we're not going to be doing any of the vision from the headset. Um, and well, let's maybe how are we doing? How we can get started if people want to jump back to the beginning. So I'm going to turn your little block of the screen on, Kylie, and the audio.
Yep.
And let's get started.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Great. So as usual, because this uses technology, it's going to be a little bit of a collaborative effort for just troubleshooting if anything isn't working, if there's any weirdness going on, then just in the comments, let us know. Would be kind of nice at this point if there's anyone kicking around to give just an indication that for the moment the sound is working okay. If there's any problems, we can sort it out now and fix some bits and pieces. And while we're waiting to get a bit of affirmation from the comment section about everything working, assuming that I'm not just here totally muted and waving my arms around at no one, I'll just do the checklist of introductions. So thanks for tuning in. This is the seventh live stream that we've got. So our seventh artist that we're working with. As I say, it is still experimental, just by dint of the fact that it's using technology, the internet, and all that sort of stuff. And people are commenting to say that everything's good, so that's reassuring. We're not doing any major transitions. Like in some of the other live streams, I've got up and stuck the headset on, and maybe the microphone. For one of them, the microphone wasn't working. For another one, the microphone was working and it was echoing around like crazy. So I don't think that we're going to have quite the same set of potential weirdness with that. The structure is fairly informal, so we're going to just go through in a moment and just sort of show what we've been doing. And then it's open to make comments, ask questions in the comment section of the live stream. And we might not immediately answer them, but at some point when we've got a break, we'll go through and read through the questions and we can talk to those points. And it normally lasts about an hour. We'll see how things go. If people have got things that they want to chat about, then it might go about 5 minutes over. Cool. Okay, so I'd like to start by acknowledging the funding that we got from Australia Council and Create New South Wales. It's helped us run this. I'd also like to acknowledge the fact that this project, my part of it, was done on land that's of the traditional owners of the land, traditional custodians of the land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. This is a cross. We're in two different sort of virtual spaces. So Kylie is going to be in a different place. I don't know if you want to acknowledge the land that you're on,
Yeah.
Kylie.
So I'm in Jajawaram country.
Cool.
Yeah.
And also just a logistics thing. This is stream 7 of 9 in total. This one is going to be uploaded, stuck online, and the backlog of different videos are already available for you to watch. So if you like this, if you haven't seen the other ones, then they're just there on the website and also on the Facebook page that you can go through and have a bit of a watch of. Great. Well, we've already got started, and I haven't introduced Kylie Banyard, the artist, Dr. Kylie Banyard, who is a multidisciplinary artist. You might have seen her work as part of the National. She had some amazing work in the MCA. And I tend to try not to make a hash of describing people's practice. Other than that, it's really great. And leave it up to Kylie if you want to talk a little bit about your practice, but no pressure. Yeah, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we'll get started jumping into the project that we've been working on. So I'm just going to turn it on. Okay, great. Oh, I'm going to slightly adjust the screen just so that you're not doubled up there. Okay, great. So what we did for this project was take some of the architecture and spaces of Kylie's previous works and explore creating a virtual space in Mozilla Hubs using them. So if you would like, Kylie, I think you can see me in this space. What we could do is you could talk through and I could sort of drive through the space a little bit. Also, what we'd like to do is, because this is Mozilla Hubs, and I'll be quiet in a minute. So, I'm getting a little bit of echo, I think, for a second.
I might.
Okay. So what we'd like to do, because this is Mozilla Hubs, and it's open for anyone to jump on, I am going to put in the comments of the live stream the room that we are in, and anyone who wants to can jump in their browser, on their phone, whatever they've got, and join us in the VR space while we walk around and talk about it. So this is one of the great things about Mozilla Hubs. It's an online platform, totally free, that you can experience VR spaces. You don't need a VR headset. If you have a VR headset, then everything looks great. Otherwise, you can look at it on your desktop or on your phone. Okay. Sorry about that. I think I've been a little bit of... I'll give a moment's break from my voice. If you want to talk about what we've got, I'll walk around it.
Yeah, okay. Is that okay? There's no echo or anything?
That's really good. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I guess as Josh was saying, we decided to, I guess, pull a whole bunch of images, structures from paintings, but also documentation and images. We worked with images of sort of large-scale installations that I've made over the years. So I guess the kind of the basic underlying theme with all of this this work comes out of my interest in handmade houses and like experimental architecture. And often I usually make paintings or installation spaces that draw on archival images of times in the past when people have come together to experiment and try other ways of being in the world and other ways of living. And I've done lots of research into intentional communities and artist colonies and different radical educational experiments. So like Black Mountain College, which is what the work at, most of the work at the National was based on. So yeah, some of these works, some of the references here, or the little structures, are about 12 years old, and others are really very recent. So it's been really exciting to pull all of these forms together and put them in this this space, this completely speculative, fabricated landscape. And it was just, I had to recreate some of the objects, some of the little sculptural objects don't exist anymore, so I remade them, and it's, yeah, it's been really, I feel like I've come full circle. It's been really fun, and really fun working across sort of very tactile, physical methods of making, and then sending them, photographing, documenting, scanning, and sending them to Josh, and watching him then put them, I guess, like render them and turn them into these digital forms. Yeah, so this is one of the forms that I remade.
Sorry, I just reloaded it because I lost my mouse for a second there, so just as you're about to talk about it, I went back to it.
Oh, are we going to get a new name? Oh no, we've got the same name. That's good. Yeah, and I was saying to Josh before that one of the things I really love is being able to see all of these structures that have never been together before. We've always been in separate artworks across like a really long period of time, about a decade, all come and be together and start to relate to each other and share this space. Yeah, it's really exciting. It's really fun.
And I think, so we had a little bit of a discussion early on about whether what we were going to try and do was make a representation of a real space, or use Mozilla Hubs as a way of just sort of representing something that we were pointing at, or make everything that comes along with Mozilla Hubs, which is that sort of fairly there's a particular sort of approach to thinking about an open source, very accessible form of VR that I think comes with Mozilla Hubs that has got maybe a little bit of a very almost naive aspirational sort of element to it, which seemed to have some resonance with the idea of intentional communities as well. As this, a very techno-utopian sort of ideas of VR spaces in a time of lockdown and pandemic, being able to be spaces where people can share in a community sort of context. And I'm not going to make a horribly jaded, cynical judgment call about how Mozilla Hubs will go, but it's kind of interesting to sort of plug into some of the tone of Mozilla Hubs and the way that people are sharing it in the sort of conversation around it with the use of space as well.
Being able to come together in a time of, especially I guess for people in Melbourne at the moment, who are all locked down again. Into this space is actually really nice.
Well, and I suppose this project has probably been the most significantly accommodating to working by distance. So I haven't seen Kylie in person at all for, I don't know the last time that we actually met, but I sent off one of the headsets and a laptop, and then everything that we've been doing has been sort of remote with Kylie and Bendigo and me here in Sydney. And there's been some of the ways of working remotely are fairly mundane. It's not like we've been exclusively working in co-present VR spaces and like sculpting things together at the same time or anything. But Zoom is really good for having meetings and sort of sharing screens and showing what's going on. But I'm slightly distracted because I think Andrew Burrell is flying and I don't know how to fly.
Is that AB?
Yeah, I think so.
I was about to say, who's AB? Hi, Andrew. Look at him go. How's he flying? He needs to tell us.
We might have to tease it out of him. It's like the equivalent of the Matrix. He's the one, and he has to sort of teach us these amazing skills of how to use VR space. So what we did do in terms of working, there was a lot of use of Zoom and screen sharing, obviously because it's Mozilla Hubs and you can sort of prototype and then share a link and jump in together and have a run around and sort of some of the tools that you can use other than just sort of walking around and talking about different things. You can sort of annotate and draw to indicate different things. It's nice, compared to working with, say, Unity and something that only exists in the headset. The workflow is, in terms of how easy it is to share and progressively develop with someone else, it's really good. The tools themselves are a little bit, because they're all running on the in the desktop browser rather than being a separate program, so they're a little bit janky, I suppose you'd say. Like they don't have quite the same user interface that you would hope for, but being able to share it as you're going is really useful. All right, I should, if people don't at this point have questions to ask, /fly.
What?
Is that I'm going to try that.
How come you had to reload it?
Oh, well, see, okay. Do we do it here? Now I'm going to look like a total idiot. Oops, yeah, I'm definitely looking like a total idiot because I just wrote that in a message to everyone. Here? Yeah, okay. Great.
Oh,
cool.
Fly mode enabled.
There we go.
/fly.
So I suppose it's nice at this point, having gone through a whole bunch of different projects and tried to explore different ways of working with VR. Louise Zhang, who's here in the comments, the studio that we did was probably, I think, definitely taking a step towards making something that was accessible without needing to have a headset. And there are strengths and weaknesses to it. The process of getting models into this space, you can't put too much detail in, you can't put huge, big models. So for this work, if you were following the Instagram posts about the workflow, do you want to talk about this work here? I think you mentioned it briefly, that this was one that you remade. Do you want to talk about what the process involved?
Oh, yeah. Hang on, I'll grab it.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Awesome.
There's the little sculpture, which is just clay. And I made it. This isn't the original version, but I made the original version of it about 10 years ago, and made a painting from it. So I just made it to paint from. And then Josh was like, "Oh, have you still got this? Can we get that in? Can we document? Like, can we photograph that and get that into the space?" And so I remade it. And then you'll have to talk about the next part.
It's kind of, I mean, it's a nice process as well, because it's so hands-on. To be able to do that remotely is really nice. To take something which is like such a hands-on process of modeling something out of clay, and that being actually like quite a convenient process of generating models. I mean, we did have as well Oculus Medium, so I mean, it's not super. It's kind of deliberately faceted, the landscape, because I wanted to, for one, sort of save the amount of detail, because this is sort of designed to run on a whole bunch of different platforms. Kind of, it's better to not overload it by throwing huge models at it. But I also wanted there to be like a little bit of an aesthetic. Talking in the language of a shared VR space. So I felt a little bit bad because, Kylie, a lot of your paintings that you provided for things were so beautiful. And then as part of that sort of transition to this aesthetic, it's like, right, cut out all of the colors and all the subtlety and things like that. So this background, this what's called the skybox here, was absolutely gorgeous, and now it's kind of been digitally hacked at, and these trees as well. I love the personality of that tree, by the way, when you're doing it.
With the light-coloured one?
Yeah, just sort of stood there with an attitude. But I've just sort of done a little bit of a transition. I think there were some options. You might see some differences between different buildings in this set, and that's because some of them were done early as tests of the process, and then the later ones were done trying to experiment with a different set of colors. So this one was just pretty much directly pulled from the painting. And you can sort of map. I'd use SketchUp as a very quick and easy way of building from reference images. So you just sort of start with the original image and then pull faces out of it, and it tends to work quite well. And it's, I guess in terms of the options of what we had, we could have, speaking to that idea of using Mozilla Hubs to, I'll just wave at this person who's in my face.
Who is that person?
Oh, that's very lovely. I'm glad it's not like a flash mob of people who are standing in the way of the space. So that thing of like, are we using Mozilla Hubs to represent something else, or are we using it to build something particular to the language of Mozilla Hubs? Oh wow, what's that?
Yeah, what is that?
Someone's just pulled a model in, and it's a tea set. Oh, that's very nice. Did they throw that at me? That's is it time for tea?
A cup of tea. So that is something that can happen, isn't it? Everybody can bring their own models. Like they can use the
so you can just pull them in.
Yeah,
oops, I forgot I'm flying. So I'm standing on the ground.
What else is coming? Something else is coming as well.
So this is lovely because I'm so glad that people... Oh, that's someone's avatar. Wow, that's amazing. Wow. Are you in the space, Kylie, with your...
No, I'm just watching on the Zoom.
Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, it is nice to see, because this is the first time that we've sort of opened it up for people to come in and start playing in the space and having that sort of social interaction. So definitely it's nice to demonstrate as part of the process people using this space in this way. I got totally distracted from talking about the workflow. We've done it before for other VR studios, but the reconstruction of this sculpture, Kylie took a whole bunch of photos of it against a backdrop that had a lot of sort of organic detail that the program can use to position all of the photos. And then from that I can build a 3D model of it, and then I did a little bit of texturing to give it, the textures over the top are kind of arbitrary. I just sort of painted on different things. So this started off with kind of the photorealistic crystal texture, and then did the reduction after the fact, just to get it sort of fitting with everything else. And we did have a bunch of mushrooms as well. They didn't quite have enough time to bring in that, again, because the models that you get from this process, photogrammetry, where you build the 3D model from real objects, they tend to be huge, and it's much easier to make very, very large models than to sort of tweak them and optimize them for putting into a space like this. So it just takes a little bit longer. You can get the model looking good, but it takes a little bit longer to sort of make sure that it's simple, but in a way that still has the original shape. Cool. The conceptual connection to the intentional communities and the Hubs platform is very clear, says Andrew. Thank you. Good.
That's great. I'm in the space now, so I'm just going to mute myself on Zoom so we don't get weird echoes, but I'll come back if you need me to talk.
Okay. Oh, well,
or should I not?
Actually, can you mute yourself in Hubs? Otherwise, then we won't be able to hear you on the Zoom.
Yeah, that's true. That would be silly, wouldn't it? Okay.
Cool. So there's a few things that we did. Just jump in, Kylie. I'm sorry, I don't want to I don't want people to get sick of the sound of my voice. So if there's particular things that you want to talk about, I was just going to talk about the differences in the workflow. So this tent here was doing some of the material draping stuff that I did with Claudia Nicholson for the last project. And we did in fact have a render of this dream machine that casting a really nice shadow into the space, but that had to sort of be cut for the sake of not overwhelming Mozilla Hubs. This flag is just a very simple animated flag with the texture. One of the images, we were going to experiment with having a few more plants and flowers and things within the space, and this is sort of an early image that we didn't go on to use for a source of image of little objects, but thought it was nice to sort of put it in there, the flag itself.
I love the way it's kind of like the animations, so sort of it's like a minor little piece of, the flags flapping in the wind, but pretty much most other things are very still.
Yeah.
and I love that about it, that sort of incongruous, and the birds. So when you come in, you hear the birds before you see anything, but then when you actually arrive, it's so loud and noisy, but you can't see any birds.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really good.
Cool. This might be... I feel like I've talked too much so far. Yeah. So if anyone has...
You want me to talk?
Yeah.
One of the things that I was, when you were saying that you felt bad about the way that having to convert things into Mozilla Hubs was really reducing down like the paintings. That's actually one of the things that I've really liked about it, actually, because I can't help but look back at lots of the different views and I guess outlooks that I'm seeing, and relationships between forms that I then think that I might then turn into paintings again. So there's like the way that the sky is really reduced and the trees are reduced and certain structures are positioned sort of close-ish to each other. I now feel compelled to paint those views again. So it's interesting. I might take a whole bunch of screenshots and then do a series of paintings.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, it's lovely to think that this isn't necessarily the finding things that are then tools like research tools.
Yeah, it's kind of very generative, the process. Yeah.
I wonder as well. So what? How seeing these things, that process. I think I've talked a little bit sort of before. I've gotten on minor rants probably about when you put things in 3D spaces, how it sort of becomes concrete in a particular way. What do you think? How do you think it's changed these things to put them into a space where they're now navigable, if I can say that word, and sort of exist within this 3D layout?
Yeah, there's something about the process of moving through. So even though it's not like hugely embodied, but I mean, in the goggles, in the VR goggles, probably it would be more so. Mm-hmm. But traversing through the space, there's something really exciting that happens. I guess the way that your eyes traverse through a flat 2D image, like a painting, when you're scanning a painting, looking at it, there's something that happens as you can then move your avatar through the space and feel that motion. And it's really interesting, and like passing a form and then turning around and looking back at it and seeing it in relation to the hills or the trees behind. Yeah.
Does it feel like a Do you have an experience of being in a place when you're in this? Does it feel...
Yeah. And I kind of feel like what we've gotten to here to arrive at this point feels like the beginning of establishing a place, and I feel kind of attached to the idea of continuing to inhabit it and like plant plants in it, and I guess care for it and continue to build the space.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's more than likely a temporary space, I feel compelled to kind of to keep working on it. It feels like the beginning of a place.
Yeah, awesome. Well, so there is a little bit of a when you're talking about technology in the context, obsolete technology around intentional communities. How what would your what's the word? Not diagnosis, your prognosis for it in the context of history of VR spaces like this as a social space. How do you think it would go?
Well, I guess the way I've spoken about in the past about I guess outmoded or obsolete forms and bundling intentional communities up into that category, it was mostly in reference to the way that in those communal situations, and it's not like they don't happen anymore. People definitely live that way, but it's kind of goes against the very individual neoliberal way that most of society's kind of driven and constructed. So that's when I've thought about communes and intentional communities in the past as being outmoded. It's in regards to that collective, living together in groups and and really living together, not just in proximity to each other, but sharing space. And so I guess it's like a little kind of testing ground, or like a propositional or like a way to play around with that idea in a really playful way.
You could say maybe that one thing to note, I'm sure, is that as well as being sort of generally social spaces, I think Mozilla Hubs is intended to be a space for meetings as well. Which is part of it, and also thinking about what maybe Burning Man is the late capitalist model of where intentional communities go, where people are getting private chefs to they have these amazing, beautiful, creative sort of things that exist within a sort of exclusive experience. All of that sort of stuff that's going on. I'm sorry for the pained expression on your face when I said that.
Me?
Yeah.
Was there?
A little bit, yeah. Just flashed across your face.
No, keep going though. What do you think about Burning Man?
Well, maybe you could say it's like the child of the hippie parents that becomes the stockbroker or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what exists that's still trying to plug into all of those drives of alternative communities and intentional communities is now an opportunity to show it's something very, very different in Burning Man. And all about, you have to have I won't open it up just in case it gets too painful again of what goes on with Burning Man. But we've got a couple of comments. John Gilly says that the faceted aesthetic of it is good, which is kind of actually, I think, there's a default world that you jump into, which I think gave quite a nice model. As with any technology, the demonstration, what they do as a demonstration is kind of a good outline of what works well across different platforms and things like that. And the faceted world, that's the default one, was kind of a nice model for what it might look like. Cool. Louise.
Is Louise the panda that says Louise loves Kylie?
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Maybe we can take a photo if everyone comes over to the tent, then I can use the little photo thing.
I haven't seen you for so long, Louise, and here you are.
Wait, where are you, Kylie? Where's your plant?
I'm not sure what I am. I'm just behind you.
Oh.
Oh, wave.
The duck?
Yeah, that's me.
Ah, okay.
I'm not sure what I am.
Yeah, you look good. Yeah. Well, you can. Let me move the camera over here. Yeah, it's good fun. Okay, I'm going to point the camera back towards the tent, or maybe which way's the nicest? I move this.
The tent, good. Looking up the hill.
Yeah.
Oh, there's crab down there. Yep.
Okay. All right. So so maybe assemble yourselves to this camera. You can see, I think. And okay, so I really want to find out if a dream machine works the same as a 3D model of simulated lighting in VR, and maybe a headset, the same way it might with a light bulb and record player. Well, I have the model, Andrew. I didn't do it when I did my render, and I have the render sort of kicking around so I can show. Which one's this? Oh, that's Kylie laughing as a plant. Somewhere here that I can get. I always played it back much slower than it was supposed to be, because I think it's supposed to be something like you do it on a record player, so it's like 45 or 75 RPM depending on what.
45 works best.
So that's a little bit slower than one rotation every second. I get a little bit funny with flashing lights, so I didn't kind of want to put myself in it too much. But I can show the video of it running slowly. And
are you sharing your screen at the moment? Oh, you've got it on the live.
Yeah. Okay, I should take a picture. Wait, who's here? Okay. Yes. All right, 1, 2, 3. Say cheese. 3, 2, 1. Lamb. Yeah, cool. And copy that image, and this is very nice. I think I should be able to paste it as well. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, so you're welcome to give it a go of the model, Andrew, if you want to. There's a whole bunch of things that I did around sort of draping and different experiments and bits and pieces. Like early experiments with trying to get, because part of Kylie's, oops, I was echoing there. Part of Kylie's multidisciplinary practice is working with fabrics, and as we did have that sort of approach to doing fabric draping, I thought it would be nice to do some experiments in doing dynamic draping of some of those fabrics that already existed. And again, we didn't quite have enough opportunity. Oh, lots of people are taking photos.
Everybody's taking.
There's like a gazillion photos around here. All right, cool. I'll stay here just for.
He's a really good.
I look like a little short, angry.
How do we save these photos? Can we save them?
I think if you click on the word that says photo, then you can go from there. So this is, it's absolutely, it's so cool to be sharing this space and seeing the sort of social interactions that happen around this. We also talked a little bit about spaces, spaces that might be focal points for interaction, and to what degree we'd make it, it might be silly to have something like maybe.
We also talked a little bit about.
Oh, I'm echoing again there in the thing. You know, we could have a fire pit or something that people might congregate around, and I think even though it obviously doesn't totally make sense if you're going to think of it purely as a VR space, to have something like a water pump or any of those things, or like a bar or a barbecue or a blah blah blah. They're kind of nice as a way for people to get together. I think I was saying to Kylie that almost all of the VR spaces, the communal VR spaces that I've seen, have had something like a bar, even though obviously no one can drink. People kind of feel that context is nice to be around. Dylan having an issue getting into this space, but it's beautiful. Oh, what happens when you try and connect? I think there might be a limit of 25 people, but I don't think that we've got 25 people yet. So if you can see it, you should be able to enter the room. I can't quite see how many people we've got so far. Maybe I can adjust.
I think we've got 5 people, Josh.
Okay, let me see. There might be something that I can adjust with the number of people in the space. Room settings. Okay. No, it should be 24 people that we can get if we need it. Oh, and also... okay. I just saw something where we could change the name, but I don't think it would change the URL. Another sort of generative part of the process of building these spaces is it makes up a name every time you upload it. So I'm not even going to say the fantastic name that we had, because it's kind of sad that we didn't get the opportunity. It didn't stay. But I did upload it a couple of times just to make sure that we had a better name than one of the bad ones. So this is where we're at the moment, the Snow Magenta Commons. I'm going to load it on my phone. It should run on all sorts of... so Louise said that Dill has an old computer and was having problems loading it with it. But the point of Mozilla Hubs, if you try and load it, then it will generally just sort of miss out stuff that is too intense. And another way of getting here, other than just going to the link, is if I go to share, you can also get it via this link, this shortened link. So I can say on my phone, type this in, and I should pop up there as well. He has 100 tabs open. Okay, that probably won't help. Cool. Okay, I'm going to go through my general questions just to make sure that we've covered everything, which is talked about what we've done, I think, the different ways that we've done things. There's a very loud sound of water. I think it might be the recording.
It might be... Oh, it was me. There we go. I turned it up. Yeah.
So we built these different models of different spaces based on a number of Kylie's paintings. This was hand modeled and then reconstructed using photogrammetry. A bunch of individually painted and scanned elements that we put in, and just experimenting with draping fabrics for this space here. We did have some other bits and pieces. So I did have a model of a kelpie that I wanted to put in that ended up not being rigged, so I was all ready to get it going, having to just stretch the ears a little bit to make them appropriately correct for what's your dog called? Girl.
Juno.
Okay.
Girl.
It's another. So I suppose that's one of the new inhabitants that can come fairly quickly. Would be the model of the dog. Also thought it would be kind of nice to have, if you're hosting these Mozilla Hub spaces, just on the open sort of system under hubs.mozilla.com, then there's no limit to what you throw at it in terms of different models and things, but there's some things that you can do that are a little bit more interesting if you host it on your own server. Then you can have like characters that look like normal people, and then they can talk and interact and all that sort of stuff. So I thought those could be quite fun, like having the dog bark, just be there the whole time, and you come into the space and there's just a dog that can sort of interact and bark and things. Yes.
We had veggie gardens to plant out as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And we talked about a fire pit in this central area, but this sort of like the sort of most common part of the common.
Well, I think we can pull objects into prototype things as well, which is kind of nice. That could have actually been another way of doing our development process. Could be sort of sitting here and then actually pulling objects in and moving them around. It's just that a lot of the objects that are there are just sort of other people have made the models and things.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Cool. I think that's cool. Do you have anything else that you want to chat about? I'm quite enjoying seeing everyone running around. Although people have left a mess. There's like a whole bunch of photos that people...
All those photos. I don't know how to delete. I don't know if you can delete them. I think they stay. So they have no choice but to leave the mess.
Okay.
That's great. What's that?
This one is a broken one. I don't really know what's going on there.
That's a really good one. Oh, so you can tweak them.
Apparently, yeah. And if you just mouse over it, then it will... Oh, this one's got some nice controls. This one... Yeah, interesting. Cool.
That's a great one. That's a really good one. That's very meta.
Andrew says that it's great that people have naturally gathered in this area to take photos where the fire pit otherwise would have been.
Exactly.
Here we are, sort of floating around this space. Yeah, cool. Oh, and there's Dylan. Oh,
Where's Dylan? Dylan's a
he's the same as
the
pot plant. He's chosen the pot plant. Cool.
Big teeth. The Venus flytrap with huge teeth.
Cool. I think if no one else has any questions, then we might be good for just leaving it up to ending the live stream maybe, and just running around within the space with everyone who's currently here. Might be kind of fun.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Cool. So if you do have any questions or comments or anything via the Facebook live stream comments, just throw them in. We'll give it maybe a couple of minutes. If anyone has anything that they want to chat about, then we can do that. Otherwise, we might just devolve into running around the social space.
Good idea. I keep trying to interact with it on Zoom, realizing I'm trying to
within the screen share. It's not. Yeah.
Oh, also, I mean, it's quite easy to use. I'll show what the back end of it looks like, just to give an indication. I kind of want to show my nephews how to use it, because it's something that's simple enough as a way of... It's so immediate, building things out of it and using all of these sort of ready-made bits and pieces, that I think it would be really fun. Especially my nephews are overseas. Kind of a nice space that we could have a bit of a building project, remote building project, where we could sort of modify this space and hang out in it. Could be quite nice. And it's also, in general, that idea of trying to demythologize the process of creating things in VR. It still speaks a little bit the language of kind of hacky techy sort of stuff, so it's not wildly user friendly immediately, but it's not crazy difficult to do things at the same time. So what you can do, over here on the right hand side, you just have a list of all of the objects that you have in your space, and some specific special types of objects like sound files and places where people will pop up into the environment. And then the things like the models, you have an option. Either you so if I grab a model just from this list of elements and put it into the space, the default model is just a little duck, and that's actually a model which is on Sketchfab, which is a online sort of library of different objects that people can upload to. And then when we put an object in, we also upload our objects to Sketchfab, but these ones are sort of private, so they're not sort of thrown in with the general mix of everything. And all you do is grab the name of your model. So here's Sketchfab, particular URL for the model, and you just paste it in, and then your model will pop up into that space. And also you can just go, okay, Sketchfab, what do we want? Let's get a tree. We'll load a bunch of trees, and you can just drag it into the space. It takes a little bit of time to load, and then there's the tree in the space. So it can be very quick. The thing that's annoying is, like, if you're used to using sort of 3D authoring tools, 3D world building tools, it is a little bit sort of janky trying to do stuff which is all built into the browser, so it's not quite as quick and easy or powerful as you would otherwise find in something else, but it's quick, it does the job. Someone said, can we hear a little about some of the other buildings and structures? Yeah, I mean, people might be interested, Kylie, in where the different structures are from, and what you found interesting about them when you originally jumped in to choose them as subject matters.
That one there that we're looking at now, that was I was working on, that was really probably around 2009, and I'd started finding images online. I think I was looking at Christiania at the time in Copenhagen, the anarchist town. And that isn't from there, but I had started playing around with found images and of structures, and then deciding to make my own little models, like little, I guess, maquettes of some of the buildings that I was looking at. And I don't even know if that was one of the structures from Christiania, but the flag certainly was the red with the 3 yellow dots. But that was made just with sticks and hot glues. And so I had this process going where I was making paintings from found images, but also other paintings at the same time from actual objects that were, I guess, more like little models I was making. So they were kind of more like still lives I was painting from life and from images. So there was a weird kind of conflation of those two different mediated, I guess, and not so mediated ways of painting. So that one's from that time, but not necessarily sourced from Christiania. The Tudor house, I have no idea where that comes from. I cannot remember. It was such a long time ago. I remember at the start I was just Google searching hippie houses, and that was something that jumped up right at the beginning, but I really don't know. And I think I may have manipulated that one quite a lot as well. And one of the things about that that one was that the source image was really low res and a really poor image. So there was lots of information missing. So lots of parts of the building that I just couldn't see, and I didn't really know what was happening. So I kind of had to make it up, which is why it's all wonky. And I guess in terms of perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
And this was also the first one that we did as a test, which is why it's a little bit sort of lo-fi with the backing. And then when I did it, I'm like, Kylie, do you have a picture of what it looks like on the side of it? And we don't, so it's kind of don't look at the back of it.
And I can't find the source image. I haven't seen it for years. That's probably that may well be the first one that I ever did. So, yeah, it was a long time ago. And then the one up on the hill, okay, so that's from Christiania, the Love Shack, as Josh calls it. And then...
and these other ones?
Yeah, so the dome, which I see you're skirting around to the front so people can't see the sides.
Yeah, I'm quite judicious in the way that I navigate some of these ones.
So the dome that's back the other way.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. The one, definitely don't look at the back of that one.
So that's actually a sculpture which some people who were here or might still be here would have seen at first draft. So that's like a 3x3 meter actual geodesic dome. That was a big sculpture that you went inside. And that's where the Dream Machine was the first time I used the Dream Machine. And that was built just using a pattern that I bought online. So there's someone in the States, in America, who sells just really basic geodesic dome patterns that are meant for like greenhouses, for shade houses, but I put coloured ply on the outside rather than shade cloth. And then the one to the left, the modernist looking one up on the hill.
Which unfortunately hasn't imported quite so well as I'm kind of tempted to jump into the image of. So I'm slightly cheating here what I'm about to do because I'm just going to load it up in the model.
Yeah, that one's from Black Mountain College, and it's a house that the architecture students built with their teacher.
Ah, that's cool.
Who that was? Sorry, I used to know who that was, but yeah. So I really love that structure. It's amazing. But again, I only have a black and white image of that as source material that's quite low res. So I haven't been able to source a really detailed, high quality image. So it makes it really hard to kind of work out what's happening in some parts. So I just make it up. And then Josh, you ended up just kind of really having to make it up.
Yeah, well, there's I don't think there's a back to it at the moment. I think it's just So.
Oh wow. Oh, there's trees. Go back around to the back, you can see the tree.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Wow, that looks great.
And then this one, I love the source. So we also have as with all of the other projects that we've worked on, if you're happy, Kylie, with going through the development document.
Yeah, of course.
So we just throw everything at the wall and sort of have a bunch of examples of different experiences to start off with, and we were looking at different forms, different aesthetics in games of physical materiality. So there's a bunch where they've got sort of claymation and hand modeled things that we were looking at earlier on, this is one of them, which is actually called the Dream Machine, which when I didn't think of until came in. This is something that I've just played called Broken Reality. That's like really, really amazing 90s internet aesthetic sort of thing. That's quite clever in what it does. And then we've got all of the examples of Kylie's. So this painting, that was in the National, wasn't it? That one with the tent in the background that we then have in the space. And this image of the, just bring that down, just make sure everyone can see it. And if just sort of throw together a bunch of examples of Kylie's existing practice. This is the original of the sculpture.
Yeah. It didn't make it.
And then just some general images. That's that one, isn't it?
Photos. Yeah, so the one below was the image I worked from. But I flipped it. I've always flipped them for some reason. Maybe it's because I'm paranoid about copyright.
The other house. So this is the image that dome was based on. I really love. Oops, sorry, that one.
Well, that's a nice angle looking back like that. Cool.
Not quite as nice as that, but tried to do the framing similar to the original images, or give some sense of the original framing, which is why they sort of sit the way that they do. And what else do we have in this set?
Oh, the rainbow house.
So that's and we weren't able to do your house, which is
sad. Very sad.
It's coming.
Yeah, good.
It's there. And we've got all of the vegetables and everything for it, so it's
that's Drop City. That would have been amazing to get in with it. Very complicated.
Yeah. Yes. Cool. All right. And how about this one?
Yeah, the rainbow house. I have no memory of where that one came from. That's also, that one and the Tudor house were really early discoveries, and I'm sorry, I can't remember.
I think we've done the tour. What's everyone saying? Peter says Buckminster Fuller was also at BMC, so the geodesic has a link there.
Yeah, that's what led me to BMC, was Buckminster Fuller,
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's been really fun. And for me, really nice to see people running around and playing in the space as well, and leaving there. I wonder if this is Dylan. Who put the car in there.
There's a car in there. Oh.
There's a fish tank as well somewhere.
Yeah, I saw the fish tank. I like the fish tank. Yeah. I don't think that car's not really the vibe we're going for. It's okay. Everything, I guess we have to accept everything that comes.
I think I just threw it into the lake.
Oh, you threw it in the lake. You're polluting our lake.
Let's throw some shopping trolleys in there as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. It was really fun sharing this space, sharing the live stream, and also sharing the VR space. And thank you, Kylie, for being part of the project and for working with me on this. It was, as with all of these ones, it's always a bit magical what comes out of them. And I do feel like I owe you your house in particular with your dog, because we've got all of that sort of ready to go. And hopefully...
I look forward to seeing
it. Lou says thank you. Ainsley says thanks, guys. Okay, brilliant. And I'd probably stick around in the space for a little bit if anyone else is in there. But otherwise, thank you very much. Let me do my little post live stream thing. So as with all of these, once we finish the video today, it'll go up online with all the other videos, so on tacticalspace.org website and also on the Facebook page for it. And we haven't yet got a date for the next live stream that will be Jason Fu, but we'll be announcing some part of that project probably on Monday. So keep your eyes out for that one. Otherwise, yep, thanks again, and I hope you have a nice rest of the weekend. Cheers.